So this is one of your stretch and release sessions. These are a little bit shorter, and it's just about moving your body in a way that makes it feel good. The only thing that you'll need for this is your strap, and towards the end we're going to bolster ourselves up for a bit of a relaxation pose. So if you have a bolster, that's really, really useful, and if you don't, just grab some pillows, some cushions, some blankets, whatever you've got to kind of build yourself up. And if you don't have any of those available, don't worry, you can do it without those. We're going to start lying down on our back. So lie yourself down, have your knees bent, your feet flat on the floor, and just allow your arms to relax down by your side. And we're just going to take a few breaths here. Just breathe nice and slow, slowing your breath down, checking in with your body, seeing how it feels. Now, if you aren't comfortable with your head flat down here, feel free to grab a cushion or something under your head to make you feel more comfortable. And we're just going to take some deep breaths. Checking in with your body, so notice if you're holding tension. Are you frowning? Do you have little frown lines between your eyebrows? How about, are you clenching your teeth? Does your jaw feel really tight? Your face feel really tight? Can you allow your jaw to relax? So let your teeth part slightly and let your tongue rest against the roof of your mouth. Allow your neck and your shoulders to relax. Ribs relax down. So if you're struggling to hold your ribs down and your ribs are lifting towards the ceiling, then popping a cushion under your upper back and shoulders will allow your body to release down. So it's really useful if you're struggling to release there. No tension through the arms, let your arms be free. Make sure you're not gripping fists with your hands, let your hands just unfurl and just be where they need to be. Notice if you are holding tension through your abdominals. Are you pulling your belly in, sucking your belly in? Can you let your belly just be relaxed? It doesn't need to do anything here. Notice if you're squeezing and gripping through your bottom. Can you let your bottom be relaxed? Again, it doesn't need to do anything here. And notice if you're clenching your toes and curling your toes. Can you let your feet be as relaxed as possible? Just take a few more breaths here. And then we're going to start to slowly move. So we're going to bring our feet and knees together. Take your arms out to the side, so your arms are out to that T position. And we're going to do a little spine twist. So take a breath in. And as you exhale, allow your knees to roll to one side and your head can go the opposite way if that feels good. Inhale as you come through centre and exhale, take it over to the other side. Just move nice and slow at your own pace. As you come through centre this time, we're going to pause there and take your feet wide now. So take your feet to the edges of your mat, so feet and knees are wide. And it's that same movement, both knees roll to one side, but we've got that space between them this time. Just changes the movement slightly, you'll probably feel more of a stretch into your hips. And just go with the flow of breath. So some days you might feel that you want to go a little bit more quickly, other days you might just want to go slow and controlled. And neither is wrong. Do whatever feels good to you right now. And then as you come back through centre this time, we're going to hold it there. We're going to bring our knees closer in together and then bring them in towards your chest so that you can take hold of your knees and just rock gently from side to side. This is releasing any tension and tightness through your low back as you just roll it out into the mat. Now we're going to have one hand on the top of each knee as you open your knees wide and circle around. let's reverse that and go the other way. So you're thinking about that thigh bone circling in your hip socket. Good, and then we're going to release our feet back down onto the floor. So feet and knees are hip width apart. We're going to take our arms up towards the ceiling now. Reaching your palms face towards each other and reaching your fingertips to the ceiling. As you inhale, you need to reach your fingertips towards the ceiling. Let your shoulder blades lift away from the mat. And then as you exhale, shoulder blades come back down to anchor onto the mat. And think about your arm bone anchoring into the shoulder socket. Let's do that again. Inhale, reach fingertips to the ceiling, and exhale to anchor your shoulder blades on the mat. Keep going. Just at your own pace, at your own speed. Reach, and then anchoring down. Reach, and anchoring down. Let's do 2 more. And as your shoulder blades anchor onto the mat this time, we're going to keep the shoulder blades anchored. We're going to keep the ribs down. We're going to take our arms overhead towards the floor behind us. And then bring the arms back up towards the ceiling. Let's incorporate the breath as well. So inhale as your arms go back. And exhale as they come back up. Keep going. Inhale to reach. And exhale to come back up. Let's do 2 more. Last one here. And then as your arms come up to the ceiling this time, we're going to let the arms come all the way down towards our hips. We're going to turn the hands over so the palms face up. And we're going to start to slide the arms out along the floor and up towards your head. And then slowly bring back down towards your hips. So we're going to play with the mobility of your shoulders here. So if there comes a point where your ribs start to lift because your arm doesn't want to go any higher, then you're not going to take that arm any higher, you're just going to bring it back down. So just see how far you can take your hands towards your head without the rib cage lifting. And that might be different one day to the next, it might be different one side to the other. Palms are facing up towards the ceiling. So really nice through the shoulders, through the chest, through the upper arm. Let's do 1 more time here. And then as your arms come down towards your hips this time, pause there. Bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees roll out to the sides into your cobbler. I'm going to take the hands back up towards the ceiling again. Interlace your fingers and turn your hands over, pressing your palms to the ceiling to stretch into your hands. Pull your thumbs as far away from the fingers as you can. And then keeping your shoulder blades anchored, we're going to start to slowly take those arms overhead again. Don't let the ribs lift. Keep pressing into your hands, arms, shoulders. Couple of breaths here. And when you're ready, start to slowly bring your arms back up towards the ceiling. Bring your fingers apart. Give your fingers a good stretch. Circle your wrists around. And reverse, circle the other way. Can you gently pull each finger in turn back to stretch out your fingers and your hands? And then give your fingers a wriggle. And just allow your arms to come back down. We're going to bring our knees in towards each other and roll onto our side for the crocodile. So over onto your side, feel free to grab a cushion under your head if you need it. Bottom arm out long, top arm on top of that. And if your head will reach to rest down onto the mat, it's really good for your neck. Knees are bent. And we're going to keep our knees down on the floor the whole time. We're going to keep our pelvis in this position the whole time, but we're going to rotate the rib cage away. So when you're ready, reach that top arm forwards, reach that arm up towards the ceiling, and then start to twist your rib cage back the other way. Just go as far as feels okay for you. Knees are going to stay down. Once you've gone as far as you can, you're just going to hold it for a couple of breaths. So don't go so far that you then can't breathe. And when you're ready, you're just going to slowly bring that arm all the way back up and over. We're going to do that again, so reach your arm forward, reach your arm up, and take your arm back. Let your head just follow your hand if that feels good to you. Opening out, once you've gone to your maximum position, you're just going to take a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, start to slowly bring your arm all the way back up. And over. Let's do one more time. Reach. Open out. Take your arm back. Find your maximum position. Take a couple of breaths. And when you're ready, slowly come all the way back up and over, closing that crocodile's mouth. We're going to do the same on the other side now, so roll over onto your other side. I'm just going to switch sides so that I can still face the same way. Alright, so we're going to come down onto this side, knees bent, again bottom arm out long, top arm on top, knees are going to stay down. When you're ready, reach that top arm forwards and up towards the ceiling, and then allow your rib cage to twist away. Knees stay down. Go as far as you can, hold for a couple of breaths. It might be completely different on this side to the other side. And when you're ready, start to slowly bring that arm all the way back up and over. Let's do two more so that we're even on both sides as you reach. And take it over. Hold for a couple of breaths. And when you're ready, all the way back up and close. Let's do one more time. Reach. Hold for a couple of breaths. And when you're ready, all the way back up and close that crocodile's mouth. Roll yourself onto your back now, and then just bring your knees into your chest and just rock gently side to side again, just giving your lower back a little bit of a massage into the mat. We're going to keep hold of the right leg now and lower your left leg back down onto the floor. Pull your right leg in towards your chest as far as you can without tipping your body back. So you don't want to be lifting your bottom away from the mat to get that knee in. And then keeping hold of that leg, we're going to straighten it up towards the ceiling. Pulling that leg towards you, let's point and flex our foot here. And then circle your foot around in one direction. And then reverse and go the other way. And then when you're ready, you're just going to pull that knee back into your chest again and give it a good stretch. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So bring the other knee in, pull it in towards your chest. Again, try not to let your pelvis tip back and let your bottom lift. We're keeping our bottom anchored on the mat. Keep hold of that leg and straighten it up towards the ceiling. Let's do the same here. So point and flex your foot. And then circle your foot around. And reverse, go the other way. And then pull the knee back into your chest again, good stretch. And then release your leg, both legs out long, take your arms overhead and stretch. Make yourself as long as you can and stretch from fingertips to toes. And then just release, circle your arms out to the side. So we're going to grab our strap and do our strap stretch next. Okay, so you're going to pop your strap around one foot. It's going to go at the base of your toes, kind of across the ball of your foot. And then you're going to lengthen your other leg out as long as you can. We're going to push out through both heels and pull the front of the foot towards you. Let this leg that's in the strap just be super heavy so that you're not kind of using the muscles of your leg to hold it up there. You're using your arms. If your strap is long enough so that you can get your elbows to rest down on the floor, that's less stress and strain for your arms. But take some deep breaths here. Keep pressing the heel away, pulling the toes towards you and releasing tension through the back of your leg. Notice if your pelvis is tilted back here as well. We always want to try and have a neutral pelvis so that your hip bones and your pubic bone are on the same level and it's not tilted back. So if you find that you've lifted your leg up really high, but your pelvis is tipped back and the back of this leg is miles away from the floor, you're not actually releasing stress through the hamstring, you're not actually releasing tension. So you need to find that neutral pelvis, because we need to anchor the pelvis in order to be able to stretch the leg. If it feels okay for you, we're going to bring that leg across your body now. And then bring that leg back in through centre, slightly turn it out and take it out to the other side. So you're only going to take that leg out as far as you can without your opposite hip lifting. And just take a few breaths here. And then when you're ready, bring that leg back in through centre. And we're going to switch and pop the strap on the other side. So switching legs. Same thing here, bottom leg out long, top leg nice and straight, and you're pressing away through both heels and pulling the front of the foot towards you. And just take some deep breaths. Again, if your elbows can reach to rest down, you don't have to. If you'd rather have them hovering off the floor, that's fine. Check in to make sure again that we've not tilted our pelvis back, and our pelvis is still in that neutral position. And again, if it feels okay, let's bring our leg across. Notice that you're not lifting your hip here, so your pelvis is staying down, it's just the leg that's moved across. A few breaths. And then bring it back in through centre, slightly turn the leg out and take it out to the side. Again, don't let your pelvis tilt, pelvis stays down so that we're stretching the inner thigh. And when you're ready, you can bring your leg back in through centre and get rid of your strap. Again, make yourself as long as you can, stretch from fingertips to toes. And from here, circle your arms out to the sides, and we're going to bend the knees again. Okay, so we're going to try and keep our pelvis as anchored as we can, and we're going to bring one knee in towards your chest, pop your hand on top of your knee, get that pelvis nice and anchored. Then we're going to see if you can straighten your lower leg up towards the ceiling and hold behind your knee this time. So pull that knee in towards you and try and get that shin as vertical as you can. Sole of the foot reaching towards the ceiling. Now if you're quite flexible and if you can reach, you can grab the outside edge of your foot with your hand. Otherwise feel free to hold behind that knee. All the time pay attention to your pelvis and make sure that your bottom isn't lifting away from the floor. So either holding the shin or holding behind the knee. If you need a little bit of space, if you feel like you can't breathe, you can take that leg a little bit out to the side, so it's going more knee towards your armpit, but just make sure that you take the ankle with it as well, because you don't want the knee out to the side and ankle in towards the centre. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just a different exercise. So just hold here, and you can feel how it's stretching out the back of the hamstring, so the back of the thigh. So this is your half happy baby. And just take some deep breaths, and again just trying to be as relaxed as possible here. And then let's do the same on the other side. So we're going to lower that leg down, make sure your pelvis is anchored, bring the other leg in, bring the knee in towards you, and then try and get that lower leg as vertical as possible and sole of the foot towards the ceiling. Again, you can hold behind your thigh if you wish, or you can hold onto the outside edge of your foot if that is available for you. Again, remember you can take the leg out a little bit wider if you need to, and try and find that neutral pelvis. So notice if it's tipping. It's really common for it to tip, so don't worry too much. If it has really tipped, just see if you can start trying to work your way back to that neutral pelvis. And it might take a while to get there. You might not get there today or tomorrow, but just know that that's where you're aiming to get to eventually. And then again, can you just give the back of your thigh a little rub and just see how that feels there for you. Take some deep breaths and just try and be as relaxed as possible. And then you can try, if you want to, both legs at the same time. If that's too much, go into your cobbler stretch now and just bring the soles of your feet together and your knees out to the side. If you're happy to go into full happy baby, happy, bend your other leg in, and again try and get those shins vertical, soles of the feet towards the ceiling, and try and get your tailbone anchored. So notice, I don't even know if I can do it, if you have to bring your bottom up away from the floor to get there, can you try and anchor the back of your pelvis down? So all the time you're thinking about sending your tailbone into the mat, and hold here. Take some deep breaths. And then we are going to go into cobbler. So bring the soles of your feet together, let the feet come down onto the mat, and let your knees roll out to the sides. And just hold there, and take some deep breaths. From here, we're going to go into our hip extension, so we're going to roll over onto our front now. When you're ready, roll yourself over. And you can have your hands down the mat, one hand on top of the other, and you can rest your forehead down on your hands. I'm going to keep my head up just so that you can hear me a little bit better. And then you want your pubic bone anchored into the mat, and your tailbone slightly tucked, just to give length in your lower back. Feet can either be hip width apart or squeezing together, whichever feels better for you. I'm going to have a little bit of space between mine. And then we're going to reach one leg away from you, make it as long as you can and allow it to lift away from the floor, and then lower down, and switch and do the same on the other side. Keep going, keep switching sides. And you're thinking about lengthening your leg away, so it's not about how high you lift your leg, think more about reaching and lengthening it away from you. Make sure your pubic bone stays anchored as well. We don't want your pelvis rocking and rolling on the mat here, because again, this will just cause that nipping, that tightness and compression in your lower back. Your lower back should be as relaxed as possible, so it shouldn't be having to do any work here. And feel free to kind of put your hands back there and have a feel to see whether the muscles of your lower back are having to work to lift your leg. And if they are, give it a little rub, maybe just shuffle around, get your position right again, and have a little try again. Sometimes it helps if you put your hands on your bottom, kind of give them a little bit of a poke, and make sure that as you lift your leg, that your glute on that side is activating, it is working. And sometimes just giving them a poke, giving them a little bit of a rub, it just reminds them that they should be doing a little bit of work here. So keep going. Pelvis is anchored, so as you lift your leg, you're not having to tip side to side. And as I said, it doesn't matter how high you lift. We don't have a very big range of movement here, but just working on reaching that leg away and using your glutes is absolutely enough here. As you lower your leg down this time, we're going to keep the leg down and we're going to bend the knee just on one side, and then reach your hand back and try and grab your ankle here. You can keep your head resting down onto your other hand. And we're going into the quad stretch. Now, if you can't quite reach your foot, feel free to grab your strap and just loop it around your foot and hold your strap. And we're releasing tension through the front of the thigh here. Again, it really helps to open out the hips as well. And notice, once you've got yourself into this position, whether you've had to lift this hip bone away from the floor, and if you have, think about sending your knee away from you, down towards the end of the mat to create more space through that hip joint. Notice as well if you've had to take your knee out to the side to get here, and if you have, see if you can start to bring that knee back in towards the centre, in towards its own channel where it should be, to get really good release and alignment there. So good stretching your muscles if they're not in the right place to begin with. So try and work your way back in through centre. And then we're going to release that leg. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So bend the knee and then reach your hand back again. See if you can grab your ankle. It might be different one side to the other. Notice if it feels tighter or easier on this side. Just notice. Again, have you had to lift your hip bones away from the mat? Can you think about sending your knee down towards the end of your mat to give more space through your hip? like that knee? Has it had to go out wider to the side? If it has, can you start to bring it a little bit more back in through centre? Try and find its own little channel. Just continue to take those deep breaths. And I'm going to let that leg go. Push yourself up and back into child's pose just to give your back a little stretch now. You can shift your weight side to side if that feels good for you. And I'm going to come up onto all fours now. So fingers spread wide, thumbs point towards each other and elbow pits are forwards. That sets your spine up in a really nice position. And then from here I want you to tuck your toes under. So tuck your toes under and then try and maintain a neutral spine, which means that you're pointing your sit bones directly behind you. Can you maintain that as you take your bottom back towards your heels and then come forwards again? So what you're trying to do is not round your back, you're trying to keep your back kind of as straight as possible really. And you're just going to keep moving forwards and backwards. So this is really getting deep into those hips, real deep knee bend, so we call it knee flexion, and also really good work for your feet. So there's quite a lot going on with this particular movement, and it's also a really good prep movement for squats if you're wanting to work on squats. It's kind of got all of the components that you need to start working on that. So just play with that forwards and backwards. And then take your bottom back as far as it will go and just hold it here. Maybe shift your weight side to side. Notice if your bottom's tucking under, keep trying to stick your bottom out behind you. Okay. So we've just been in that real deep hip flexion, really bending our hip, getting the bend as tight as possible. So we're going to take it the other way now, and we're going to go into a lunge to open out the hips. So we're going to come up into a high kneeling position. We're going to step one leg forwards. And we want to have this shin as vertical as possible. So you don't want that foot to be so close to you that you can see that my shin's not at 90 degrees. So it kind of wants to be there, or it can even be a little bit further forwards. And then your back foot, you can either have the top of the foot flat or tuck the toes under, and it will just depend on how it feels for your knee that you're kneeling on. And then we want our hips to be level, so notice whether you've got one hip bone higher than the other. Try and level off your hip bones. Slight tuck of the tailbone to get that neutral pelvis again. And then can you shift the whole pelvis slightly forwards? And that will feel like quite a big stretch on the front of this back hip. And you're just going to gently ease in and out of that. If it's bothering your knee, feel free to pop some cushions or some blankets under that bottom knee just to give it a little bit more padding, or of course you can double your mat over. You can try at the top of the foot flat, that's fine too. Okay, we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So step that leg back, take the other leg forwards. Again, just take a moment to get your setup right. We want that vertical shin or slightly more. And where are your hip bones? Can you find that neutral pelvis? And then again, just shift slightly forwards and back here. Again, as with everything, it might be different one side to the other. So just play around with it. Notice how it feels. It's a lot of the movements that we do are about being mindful with your body and noticing how it's moving, how it's feeling, what bits are working and what bits aren't. Good. Okay. And then we're going to go back into our child's pose again. So take your leg back, sink your bottom back towards your heels and just stretch here. And then coming up. Okay, so now is the bit where you'll need your bolster or your cushions. If you don't have anything available, don't worry about it. You can just go into your child's pose here and just stay here. But a bolster or cushions is really nice because it supports you a little bit more. You can surrender the weight of your body and it just helps you to relax a little bit more. I have even done it when I've been, struggling to sleep at night, when I've just had so much going on.
in my mind, and I've just kind of got my duvet and kind of made it into like a big bolster shape, and then just laid on top of my duvet, and it's really just helped me to just kind of release. So you can try it with whatever you've got. I do have a bolster here. So whatever you're using, you're going to do your child's pose over it. So I'm going to bring it quite close in towards me, so my knees are at either side, and then I'm going to just allow myself to relax down over the bolster, hands at either side, and turn your head to one side so that you can rest your cheek down, and then just allow yourself to relax here. Now, if it's not great for your knees here, because it's too much of a knee bend, or your hips and they're just not happy here, then maybe you need to lift yourself up a little bit higher, and you can just use anything that you have available to you. Feel free to just kind of explore and play. I've got some big cushions here, so that you can just come up a little bit higher, and again just allow yourself to relax. And it really is, it's like a nurturing pose. I feel like, you know, you see babies quite often sleep on their front like this. People often say, I don't know what to do with my hands. You can just find where it feels comfortable. Mine are quite happy here. Some people like to bring the hands up around their head. Some people like to take the hands down by their feet or just down by the sides. So just play around with where are your shoulders comfortable. You don't want to be holding tension or gripping anywhere. You want to just surrender and just allow that relaxation and that release. So feel free to kind of play around with that. And if you don't like this, some people don't like pressure on their front of their body, you can always go into that psoas release pose where you're lying down with your head and your shoulders on the bolster and the rest of your body out long. So I'm going to leave you here with this now, so feel free to stay in this position for as long as you like. It is a relaxation, it is a restorative release pose, so do try and stay there for about 5 minutes and just take some really deep breaths and just enjoy. You don't often get time to yourself, so just relax and do nothing. The last thing I'll say is, if you've got your head to one side, make sure halfway through you turn your head the other way, just to give your neck equal release on both sides. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon.